Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie. This is Illumination Portal, and I have a guest today, Dabney Lawless from Lawless Astrology. She does have a YouTube channel, and all of her information's in the description box if you'd like to contact her. I watched her video, and she graciously accepted an invitation from me to come on and talk about this last piece of Pluto at 29 degrees. He's going into 29 degrees on the 1st of September until November 18th. But he doesn't change back to Aquarius till January 20th. 2025. So I think this is going to be one heck of a ride. What do you think, Deb?
Yes, I do. I actually think that we've all been on one heck of a ride.
Yeah. Agreed.
So do you want me to sort of set the stage and talk a little bit about what Pluto means?
Sure, please. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So Pluto up in the sky, when it changes signs, it's a very slow moving planet. So when it changes signs, there's kind of like a little bit of an earthquake, and it's very generational. So a lot of times when we look at the generations, there's like the baby boomers and there's Gen X and there's millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what happens is that maps back to Pluto being in a sign. So the baby boomers all have Pluto in Leo. Okay. So it has an elliptical, so it's, spends a different amount of time in each sign.
Mm-hmm.
So Pluto is going to be in Aquarius once it goes back in. Actually, it's November 20th. It is there for 30 years. So when we finally cross over this threshold in Pluto and Aquarius, we'll be dealing with Pluto and Aquarius themes for a really long time. We've been dealing with Pluto and Capricorn themes for a very long time.
Yeah.
So Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. And over the past year, we've had a couple dips back into Aquarius, or actually not back into, forward into Aquarius. And so Pluto in Capricorn has to do with anytime Pluto touches something, it makes it bigger and it makes it stronger and it makes it more powerful. But it also shines a light on where it's broken and where it's toxic and where things need to be completely destroyed in order to be built back healthy. Mm-hmm. So if everything's going great and a Pluto transit comes along, it doesn't rock your world that much. But if things are really off course, it just kind of makes it more off course to the point where it starts to crumble and fall apart. So you're forced to change and do something different. So in 2008, Pluto came along and Capricorn. And what happened is we had a banking crisis. Mm-hmm. We had the total financial meltdown of 2008, and people lost their jobs. People lost their homes. But surprisingly, the banks didn't. The banks weren't held accountable. The people that were selling bogus mortgages weren't held accountable. The people that suffered were the people that were the lay people, not the people in power, right? Right. So Pluto and Capricorn symbolizes power structures. So it's the government, it is the police, it is the court system, it is the banking system, it is the media, it's the gatekeepers, it's the people that are, that make $500,000, $600,000, live in, have 4 houses. That's Pluto and Capricorn. And what we've seen during this time is they've gotten more and more powerful as we've all gotten more and more angry and depressed and downtrodden. And so it's definitely a case of showing us where we've been off track. Now, the United States, when it was originally conceived of, Pluto was in Capricorn at this exact point. So we've had what's also called a Pluto return in the United States, which means the United States has really had to have a reckoning with our sexism, our misogyny, our racism, like where we have said that people, all men are created equal, except for the Black people and the women and the immigrants. So, and basically Pluto in Capricorn has shown a lot of people this inequality. It's the first time that people are talking about billionaires and wealth inequality, and the fact that it, during this time, a CEO makes, 30,000 times more than the person behind the counter.
Right.
So these are all Pluto and Capricorn themes. In the middle of all this, we got a president that was not elected by the popular vote.
That's right.
That came in and really personified the shadow of this country and all the things that we've really tried to deny and say are not happening. And it became obvious we could no longer deny them. Right. We had the Black Lives Matter movement. We had the Me Too movement. So we've had a lot of wake-up calls. We've had a lot of aha moments, but then we've also had people in power say, I am not going anywhere. So, they've gotten stronger, and now they're trying to say that, women who don't have children shouldn't have as much rights to vote as other women who are mothers. And so there's just kind of, we lost Roe, like a lot of things. The Supreme Court has become completely tainted. So we've seen the vision of what Pluto in Aquarius is. And the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had more power to the people. It was the American Revolution. It was the French Revolution. It was the rise of democracy. It was the rise of people, standing up in Haiti and saying they were no longer going to be a slave society. So here we are, understanding that we are about to embark upon a whole new world where people have more power. Yeah. Now, there's going to be other issues with Pluto and Aquarius, I think, around technology and AI, and there's going to be a fundamental change in so much about what we see in the world. But the bottom line is we're actually not going to go back to the 1950s paradigm. It's just not possible any longer. The world has changed too dramatically. But this final piece coming up in September, where Pluto goes back into Capricorn, I think we're going to have some stressful times with the patriarchal, people in power, the media, the financial billionaires, the people that are in control of things that don't want to let go of control. Mm-hmm. They're going to do everything they can to stay in power, whether that's lie, cheat, steal, doesn't matter. And so we just have to be prepared to just know that it's going to be okay. Take some deep breaths, know that it's about the glacier kind of finally breaking off, and a sea change coming.
I love this explanation. I mean, it's so true. And to me, when Pluto goes back into Aquarius, like it's going to expose like the really big stuff now. Yeah. The big stuff is going to be shown to us, right? And then he will eventually come out of retrograde, go back into Aquarius. And that's where the people piece comes in, right? And the people are, we put up with a lot of stuff in 20 years. Well, if we just stick with Pluto and Capricorn's transit through that, right? Oh my gosh. So I'm really looking forward to it. I kind of wanted to have this conversation because I know this fall and winter are going to be a little bit rocking. It's going to be shocking. It's going to be it, but if we are up here together discussing it, I wanted to bring peace to people. Yeah. My main point, it's not going to look and I don't know how bad it's going to look, because I do think when Biden supported Kamala, and that was on that second full moon in Capricorn, that was the same day, and the energy changed, like within a day and a half, you felt hope again, like you did with Obama, right? We just felt that. And with her there, I feel like it it put us on a different timeline. Don't you think? Like it's not as bad as it could have been, maybe the exposure. What do you think?
100%. And I actually have a lot of nice things to say about President Biden. I just think that he wasn't necessarily the right president for this time because we're so done with Pluto and Capricorn. And in a lot of ways, he represented the positive aspect of Pluto and Capricorn, which is an elder statesman,
Right.
which is somebody who knows how to compromise and work with lots of different kinds of people and understands the system. Like he had a lot of Pluto and Capricorn positive traits, but he also didn't eradicate the problems that, like he tried, but unfortunately he was working under an older paradigm. And we really needed a fighter to kind of stamp out what was coming, what had been rising. And we haven't been able to fully move past this really kind of dark time that we've had, at least since COVID. And so again, I don't blame him in any way, but I think what people suddenly felt with the energy shift was Pluto and Aquarius. I think people immediately recognized, it's a woman, it's a person of color. It is all it is something different. It is someone younger. It is somebody who is giving us a fresh perspective and she's coming at things with a very different perspective.
Yeah. And for those of us that don't know what Aquarius attributes are, it is outside the box. It's inclusive of everybody, regardless of your sex, your color, your gender, your preferences, and it wants to bring everyone to have a seat at the table, so we can make solutions that actually pull us up and out of this hole we've been in. Because I mean, remember when Obama gets elected in 2008 and they hand him this nightmare of the banks crashing, and he had to that was his focus for the first 4 years, probably all 8 actually. But then the same kind of thing happened to Biden. He came in after a nightmare. I mean, literal nightmare, pandemic, everything was disrupted, disrespected. I mean, we could just go on and on every minute of every day. That person that claimed to have been president just spoke lies all day long, every day. I mean, to the point that there's so many cases against him. I mean, the only thing he's running for is to stay out of jail, right? And that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. So I think that, Pluto and Capricorn, it represents the father, and really it is the patriarchy. And so there is this sense with Pluto and Aquarius rules technology, but like you said, it also rules the people, and it rules the collective and what's good for everybody. And so, socialism and social programs. And I don't say that Kamala Harris is a socialist, but she's much more progressive than Biden was. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that we have to look at how are we going to help the people, not bail out the banks, right? I mean, if there's one criticism of Obama, it was that he underestimated the Republican machine that really, was set on destroying everything. He tried to come in and give healthcare to people, but it's like it hasn't, so he compromised and gave them the Republican version to get healthcare to everyone, right? So what we really need is something that actually does help the people, and I think there's more. I think there's help on the way.
Yeah, I do too, thankfully. Oh, excuse me, my throat wants to.
Oh, I know that feeling. Yeah, sip of water.
Good idea.
We'll just drink water on your channel.
It feels good. It feels good. I want us all to feel good and feel like there's hope, right? Because there is hope. But Yeah, I agree with you. Obama, I don't think he was prepared for how desperately they wanted to bury actually everything America stands for. I mean, it's our choice right now is freedom or enslavement. It's to me, it's a very simple choice going forward. And the media, that this is what's getting me. The media is completely on the Republican side. They even what we thought was left wing or left leaning media has now changed, and it seems like they just promote everything. What's his name says? I don't even talk to him.
Yeah, I don't like saying his name either. So let me talk a little bit about that. So, and this is not necessarily astrology, but there's some astrology I'll throw in. Okay.
Sure.
I've worked in media for over 25 years.
Mm.
So that was my day job. And it's changed dramatically. So where we could have talked, the conservatives did a really good job complaining about the liberal media. Now,
Yeah.
the liberal media never really existed.
No.
It was just the media that actually reported facts, and they didn't like that. So they did a really nice job of kind of painting it with a certain narrative. Now, the media has completely been consolidated now, and it's owned by big corporations. You can trace almost every single non-independent media back to one of 6 or 7 corporations. The corporations are the gatekeepers. That's Pluto and Capricorn. That's Capricorn. That's the people who are in power. That's the billionaires. So they don't want to pay higher taxes. They don't want to lose power. And so even if the individual journalists are doing the best they can to report, there really has been a change in the way that the media operates. They've been decimated. They don't get the ratings that they used to get with the rise of social media. So this is, again, also a Pluto and Capricorn destruction coming up. And so now we see the rise of all these upstarts and YouTube. We see that, do you know that content creators at the Democratic National Convention got significantly more views than the legacy media? They had 800 million impressions.
Wow.
So people are turning to these new upstarts to get their information. Now, some of that is confirmation bias, right? So some people who are right-wing are turning to right-wing channels like Charlie Kirk, and left-wing people are turning to the Midas Touch.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they don't trust what they're seeing in the corporate media. So they would rather watch something where they feel like they're getting the truth, even if that truth is really just in a silo. So that is, that's a really interesting phenomenon that's coming out of this. And it's very Pluto and Aquarius. That is people who can, like yourself, like me, who can turn on our computers and we can get the truth out there. We can talk about what we've learned, and we can share that information with other people.
That is beautiful. And that I feel like that's one of the first things that once the new administration gets going, that will be restored is truth in media, truth in the news. I really hope so. That's the only way that I see to clear the path. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of people on YouTube, and I remember when we went into lockdown, and I didn't, I wasn't working, I wasn't doing anything. I get online and I start seeing Susan Lynn, Allie, Heart and Soul Connected, all the psychics, Linda G, talking about what's going on, because I knew the media was lying to us, but the psychics and the tarot readers were really hitting it out of the park. And that's where this whole community, it originated from that time period. So it was really cool. And now, there's so many channels and there's so many readers and psychics, and everybody does their thing and what makes them, happy. And but it's all about the truth in this community. to me, it's a higher consciousness community, spiritual community, however you want to label that. And it's about the truth. It's about being heart-centered and soul-centered, not, to step on people to get ahead. And that kind of turned us all off. You know what I was really shocked about, though, at that time was how many people that I was following here and there on YouTube that claimed to be spiritually based or higher consciousness that went to the dark side. And I was like, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to point fingers, but that man, he's just a liar. He's ruined our. I mean, I know for on one hand, he needed to come out and he's kind of the face of what was wrong, what the underbelly of America was. And I get it like that, but this is ridiculous that America can't even stop a felon from running for president. I mean,
well, you would never know that from the media, right? Like they went all in on Joe Biden and attacking him after that debate. But, we have another candidate that's like, just crazy and talking about Hannibal Lecter and is a convicted felon and rapist. And like you'd never know because they don't want to report on it. They don't want to talk about, and I really do think it maps back to not wanting to lose control, but I also think it maps back to their arrogance and not seeing the writing on the wall and how the world is changing. And I know that this is a very uplifting channel, so I don't want to be too negative.
No, go for it. The truth is important, and it's not always going to be, sunshine and rainbows. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. And, I think I said this somewhere else on one of my videos or something that, during this time, it was, the Pluto and Capricorn time has actually been a really good time in my personal life. So, we all have to realize that we can have a collective experience where things feel really rocky and we're going through a lot of change, but we still can have a very good life individually, and we can still take care of our bodies and take care of our neighbors and take care of our children and care for our friends in our community and raise the vibration. And I think that's what I love about your channel. And, some of the channels that you reference is like, that's the point, is like, let's talk about the truth, but also recognize that this is bigger than us. We can't necessarily fix it. How can we fix things on a micro level? How can we take care of business here? Because that radiates out to the macro level.
It really does. And, I guess that's kind of one of the things that concern me, because that power of, we'll say, the top 3% of Capricorn is that corporations, the billionaires, the big money. Because Capricorn season wasn't all, that whole Pluto in Capricorn wasn't all bad. But for nations, it was. For nations, I think individuals, though, really went in and worked on their being responsible and mature for their lives and their family, mostly, for the most part. But I'm sorry, where's I going? And as we go into this next administration, well, we got to get to that first, right? And this is going to be quite a battle. And because of the money involved. That's what I'm concerned about. I mean, there's a lot of money that wants to restrict freedom from us.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that I think is the penultimate Pluto and Capricorn, it's Citizens United. Yeah. And if anyone who's watching your channel doesn't know what Citizens United is, it was a Supreme Court decision that said that corporations are people too. And so unlimited amounts of money could be put into political campaigns from corporations. So that's where you get, people being bought off by pharmaceutical industry, and you get people being bought off by the banking lobby. And so what then ends up happening is, I don't know if I'm sure you're human, every single one of us, like, life has gotten harder because you can't get through to a human when you have an issue. And if you do get through to a human, it's someone from another country who's not empowered to actually solve your problem.
And
And
they barely even understand you. And that's the, that's the sad part. That language barrier to me is on purpose by those corporations.
100%. It's really, and those people are not empowered.
Right.
And those people don't have a lot of money. So first of all, they're paid less than Americans would be paid.
Right.
But then on top of that, they're, they're desperate. They need more. The money they're getting, they need to take our abuse, but they are given no solutions. They're given no power to actually help us. And so it's just a way of just frustrating people to the point where we give up. And we have no recourse. And if anybody has ever called their health insurance company to try to fight a bill, or there is no helping. There is no power there. Even when you win, you don't win. Like that's the legacy right now of Pluto and Capricorn. And, I watched something the other day. They're like, there's only so long before the pitchforks come out. Right.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, what they're missing is that the wealth inequality and the most people want most people are, for the most part, we just want to take care of our kids. Right. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We just want to take care of our families. We want our neighbors to be happy. We want to be healthy. Like, we all kind of want the same things. We want good education for our kids. So, and it might look different ways for different people. But at the end of the day, we have similar goals. And it's very convenient that they found a way to divide us over very, charged issues like gay marriage or abortion, where, those aren't the things that affect, someone asked me, well, are you okay with transgender people being in girl sports? And I was like, when have I ever encountered that?
I know. It's like never. What I
care more about is the fact that I can't get my health insurance to pay for my surgery. Right. Like, they come up with these crazy things, and it's like, no, I don't think, to be honest with you, like, I think that's like a 1 in a million thing. And another friend of mine was, well, what about, transgender people, men using a girl's bathroom? And I was like, first of all, I've never encountered that. Second, I have more fear walking down a dark alley of a straight man than a transgender man in my bathroom, or a transgender woman in my bathroom. Yeah. So I think there's just a lot of this kind of people.
And this is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's it. Like, when people say, when are people going to wake up? I think a lot of people turn in times of fear and uncertainty, and when things are getting hard, they look to someone who is strong and says, I've got the answers. And I think that's what he did. The orange man came and said, trust me, I can fix it all. And I think there are people that want that. They want, don't look at him the same way we do.
Right. And that just blows my mind. It boggles the mind, I have to say. but don't you think that percentage is even so low? Like, I'd say maybe 28%, maybe, of the voters that are in his favor, maybe 30. But the media makes it seem like this is neck and neck, and this is so close. He didn't win the last time, and he distorted the voting, and I don't know why that. I thought that truth would have been exposed by now. Of course, I also thought a felon couldn't run for president, so I'm a little bit behind. But the Supreme Court with the corporations are people. That's when that started, right? And then and that's what got me about Biden. Like, you have to put more people in here. You have to change this narrative. This is, this man, how many did he get to put in? 3 or 4? And you're not even trying for one. I couldn't understand that. But I understand he wanted, whatever, work together. But it's like, how do you see that that's not, that's not their agenda at all? They want to block you on everything that you're doing, which blocks us. And like you said, we are all just one. I just want my life. You know, I want to take care of my kids, my pets, I want my food to be chemical free and the water to be chemical free and the soil. And here, the orange man deregulated a lot of that stuff to where, and that's where I was noticing at first Biden was having to undo a lot of stuff that was placed by him, and here we are, right? And I know that it's all, I believe people are going to go out in droves and vote. I don't even know if he's going to be healthy enough to go into the to be in the race,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter.
Enough now, frankly, but I think we're coming down to the point where like they can't change
the ballot.
So, I mean, I think they're stuck with him, you know, unless something happens and he passes away and then they can appoint someone. But, you know, I don't know. I have no idea about any of that. What I do know is, you know, I think that there is going to be a lot of scheming, and I think there's a lot of lies and gaslighting. And I think there'll be a lot of really frustrating things that will come out on the news. But could, you know, here's an interesting prediction. It's like, you look at, you know, the zeitgeist of Pluto and Capricorn. When Pluto and Capricorn started, one of the shows that was really popular was, or, you know, shortly thereafter, was Game of Thrones. And that was really about like the politics and scheming and right. And like the people in power and how like, or the, you know, the people who have power and how, you know, they just play with people below them like they're little toys, you know? And then, you know, recently we had Succession, which I don't know if you ever watched or some of your viewers have, but that was also about the billionaires and what their life was like. And so, you know, you have Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, and he owns the Wall Street Journal. And he is, you know, in his 90s. And that era is coming to an end.
Rose, yeah. Thankfully, gosh. I say thankfully, you know, in peace and love. I'm sending them all love, but I've been saying this since I was a preteen. Why do these old white men run the world? How did they get a hold of everyone's nation, everyone's resources? You know, it just was so obvious. But now, over this time period that Pluto's been in Capricorn, we did see a lot of these nations really go far right, but now they're coming back around. That's where that France did something, and that championship was really interesting because the last time Pluto was in Capricorn was 248 years ago, and this is America's Pluto return. But right around that time was the French Revolution, and they were literally cutting off people's heads, and that started the middle class. I mean, there was no middle class before that.
Right. It was all feudalism and kings and queens and 100%, you know, we're descendants probably. I know I'm descendants of people from the, you know, Irish famine that, you know, the British like starved them, you know, so it is interesting to see what's going to happen. And if there's anybody watching this that thinks we're threatening anyone, we are not. We are just, you know, I am an astrologer, and I'm just saying that the symbolism is power to the people, and the symbolism is freedom. And we're going to be dealing with some other, you know, heavy, like Neptune's going to Aries. There's a lot of, but the flipping over of the energy in 2025 just says something new is here to stay.
Yes.
And so I think, given that everything really did change during and after COVID.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at the pandemic of 1918, that ushered in so many changes afterwards. And we, you know, in growing up, they didn't teach us about the pandemic of 1918 very much. Like, it wasn't something people talked that much about, the Spanish flu epidemic. And, you know, people were so traumatized by it that they just didn't talk about it. But we're in a very different age now. And, you know, it was documented what happened. And I think everyone's life, everyone had an opportunity to reflect on their lives during that time. And we've all kind of said, like, this is not working for me, or where it is working and where it isn't. And I think we're finally going to have this opportunity in 2025 to finally move forward, because I've known a lot of people that have been in transition since COVID, myself included, where, you know that the old doesn't work anymore, but you don't know what the new is.
Absolutely. And that's truer words haven't been spoken. I mean, really, it's been quite illuminating, the whole thing, right? And it's just like, okay, America or the world, we all have PTSD. We've been recovering from, and this just keeps playing out. It's like, how long is this going to play out? And although I understand it astrologically, my thing is, we have so much work ahead of us, but that's what Pluto and Aquarius, and like you said, all the outer planets, there's going to be huge changes, 2025, 2026. And then it kind of, the astrology kind of isn't as intense as it's been for these, it'll be like 6-7 years by then, so that's interesting that it's, and I know that this usually happens when there's a huge change, because again, with that, when the French Revolution, that's when the Enlightenment era came in. And you see a lot of that, we see a lot of people waking up, becoming heart-centered, soul-centered, just want peace. Like, why do we have to fight any other country? Why is there war? Why, all these major questions. I just really believe that we're going to see significant change. And I wanted to hear your take on these next few months. And I know it's going to be a battle, but I feel we're going to pull through it. Well, the astrology says it is going to pull through. And this is kind of one of the things I wanted people to feel comfortable about, because it's going to be a little, and the day that they change, these outer planets, is when they have so much power. So that September 1st and November 19th. So I'm not sure if it's 17, 20.
It goes back into Aquarius like the 19th or the 20th. Yeah. I've seen it written both ways, so it might just be like what time zone you're in, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So, but that is it's powerful. It's powerful that watching it all play out. Watching Pluto and Capricorn play out, and then, even before that, Pluto and Sagittarius play out, and know the history and know the things that occurred during those times. And I knew it wasn't going to end until Pluto changed signs, but here we go. And it's one wild ride, that's for sure. And who would have seen a pandemic? And that's one thing I did see that about a year or so before we were in lockdown. I saw us being in lockdown, but I thought it was a financial crash. I didn't understand the pandemic thing. And that was a whole nother, to me, this whole time period has been where the lower vibrations, this is how I explain planets. There's a lower vibrational Capricorn, higher vibrational Capricorn, right? But these lower vibrational Capricorn, elite 3%, whatever you want to call, are trying their hardest to keep this transition from happening. But there's no way that they can stop that. Just like when France, back then, the French Revolution, they couldn't stop it. They thought they had all the power, So
well, that's the interesting thing too, is like, if you think about it, they had the opportunity to impeach the orange guy. And so if they had done their jobs, right, then they would be dealing with a totally different candidate who could win. Right. And it's the reluctance to move forward. It's the holding on to the past, not being willing to change. And I think that's what we're going to see, is the total implosion and, the final like black light on all the, gook during this time. And I will say it can be stressful. And I will say, if we hold the faith and we do our part, register people to vote, make calls, do whatever you have to do, but also, raise your vibration, say prayers. Like,
Yes.
I believe in that. I believe in,
Absolutely.
doing the work on a spiritual level to bring us into this new world safely. And that's the thing. There doesn't have to be a revolution.
Right.
There can be a transition.
Yeah.
So
I agree 100%. I was guided to do my channel, and the guidance was to help people love and accept themselves so we could individually raise our vibrations to raise the vibration on Mother Earth, because this time period was coming, I was shown. And this is, I like what Sharon Foster says, we're stronger than the lower vibration. And my friend Diana, the lower are the ones that Pluto are shaking out of the cake mix. I thought that was funny.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I will say too, to give people another nugget of hope, and I can honestly say I have not done a lot of work on this yet because my channel is pretty new, and I'm transitioning out of the media and back into astrology. But the 2030s look really good.
Yeah,
So it's, and I'm not saying like we're not going to have some relief before then, but it's kind of like we're just going through the birthing process of something new, where, something really healthy and different, we can all thrive, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. We've been in the birth canal, and once we do get through a certain portion of that, we have to look at every aspect of our lives has been distorted. So we have to fix all of these things, and I mean, that's part of the process, right? That's how we're going to evolve. And being heart-centered, being paid. Well, I don't know. I think people are very patient after everything that everybody's gone through. It's been something else. Oh my gosh. But we do have a lot of work ahead of us. And to me, I've been waiting for this time. I've been waiting for January 2025, actually, but I knew we had to go through this little bump in the fall, winter, and get to there, because there's a lot more changes in January astrologically that are going to support Pluto in Aquarius. That's why I'm saying that the nodes will change, and there's a few things going on, but and that is all pointing to this way forward, right? This way. I mean, and it's really beautiful, because I think a lot of people have become more higher consciousness focused than at least I'm always in this group, though. I'm always around these people, so I say that easily because I don't leave the house much or anything yet, but I don't know. It's been a strange trip, a strange ride.
It really has been. And I do agree with you that I think people are more informed. I think they're more tuned in, and I think they're willing to embrace change more than they have been in the past.
Right. Oh my God. Teresa Ford wants to get a beautiful cruise trip and imprison the 3% state of luxury for the rest of their lives. Hey, maybe they'll go for it. I don't know. That's interesting. It's like, what's going to happen to all this money? And why, for God's sake, does well, let's just say spiritual people or astrologers, anybody, why aren't there more billionaire,
healers?
Yeah. Like, it's like, and they all do, they gather together, and they just really have a lock on the media, what gets made, what gets processed. I mean, even in Europe, they have different they can't use the chemicals we use when we make food in a lot of respects. So it's just going to be different. It's going to be interesting to watch. I know you have a thing to get to, and I want to thank you so much. Unless you have anything else you wanted to touch on.
No, this is lovely. Thank you. I hope I haven't been too negative for everyone. Please know that we're going to get through this time, and even if you are somehow on the other side of the aisle, I don't want to offend you, but it is just a time of change. And the more we can kind of recognize that and embrace it and look forward to it, I think the easier it'll be for all of us.
Absolutely. No. I think this is how we all got together on my channel. It was the psychics and the readers helping us understand how well, they were doing their best to help us understand how the Orange Man got so much power. That most people here are not about that, not at all.
Okay,
They don't like.
good. I know on my channel, like I skew very liberal, so I try to, but when I'm on someone else's channel, I don't want to be, I don't want to insult your
No, not at all. We love it. We love it that you're skewed liberal and you're very blunt. In fact, I'm getting that's a message for me to be a little bit more blunt about these things, because we do have to stand up against tyranny and oppression, right? Just doesn't go away on its own. But thank you, and I hope we can meet again and come and hang out with us again in the future sometime.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate all your viewers.
Thank you so much. And I know you already have subscribers from them, so that's cool too. And we'll be looking out for you. And thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening. Bye, everybody. We love you. Where am I going?